Universal Orlando is growing every week, and there's plenty coming this year and beyond. So, we are being joined by the wonderful Seth Kubersky to discuss Universal Orlando 2023 and beyond.
This is episode 546 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. It is your host, Lee. I am here with Michelle.
Hi.
We've got rid of Tracy and Chris because they were doing our heads in last week, so we just kind of got rid of them. But we are joined by Kayla Roebuck's favourite guest on the show, Mr. Seth Kubersky. Hey, Seth.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's always nice to be described as wonderful. And usually I'm just emailing off my little things to you, so it's great to actually be able to talk to you in real time.
You would be amazed at how many people love little things. It's one of their favourite things about the podcast, which kind of makes me a little sad. But
all right, well then I'm going to have to ask for a raise if that's true.
I'll give you the 10% raise, Seth. How does that sound?
10% sounds very generous. So times 0 equals... Wait, exactly. I was no good at math. No good at math.
So yeah, as we have done for about the last, I don't know how many times we've been doing this with you. It used to be Jim Hill, and then we replaced Jim with Seth.
Well, no one could ever replace Jim, but I'm happy to substitute.
And basically just talk about what's going on at Universal this year and kind of moving forward, because there is a lot still going on this year.
We had a kind of slow year. Nothing major opened in 2022, but we got stuff coming this year and a lot of stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the sort of the most imminent thing is Illumination Alley. I do believe that Universal are officially calling it at this point.
Yes, Minion Lane on Illumination Alley, something like that, something overly complicated. And what exactly that does to Production Central, your guess is as good as mine.
Because it's interesting how they're referring to it as Illumination Alley when it's all Despicable Me and Minions, which is all the same franchise. Yeah, I mean, it implies that there could be some other franchise represented somehow. Let's retheme Rip Ride Rocket to...
Yes.
It would have to be like Super Silly Funland, though, but it's still Despicable Me.
Yeah, still Despicable Me. I would love to know more. If nothing else, maybe we'll see different Illuminations characters featured in the gift shop. Maybe a group meet and greet.
Yes.
I'm not hoping for a unannounced another attraction yet. I'm really curious about what Music Plaza with Rip Ride Rocket and Transformers Ride, does that become just a little land unto itself? I'd love to see what the map is going to look like. Yeah,
I mean, I've always felt for quite a while that entrance lane into studios has always lacked a little bit of identity. So I'm quite happy with this kind of getting a theme, but you're right, it does kind of leave those two areas kind of just their own little things, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how that shakes out. But you're absolutely right. I've always said that the entrance of Universal, they're trying to make it look like an old movie studio, but that just meant it was bland with big big boxy sound stages and not really attractive. So this will at least give more, the adding the Despicable Me attraction in the first place added kind of a weenie in that direction, and this will definitely create a lot of draw towards that side of the park. If you want to avoid the crowds, you're definitely going to be turning right as you enter instead of going straight.
Yeah, because I'd like to see them. It's funny, I was watching Vincent Vision tonight, and he was talking about like Illumination Alley, and I'd like to see them bring Secret Life of Pets over, but I don't know where they would put it. There's not a building there that they could put it into already.
Yeah, I think that what the park needs more than anything is an all ages dark ride, and I guess that the villains attraction will sort of fill that role in that it'll be a moving walkway with no seat belts and no height requirement. But I still think whether it's a Secret Life of Pets or based on some DreamWorks property, the studios absolutely needs another slow moving, all ages dark ride.
Yeah.
The question is definitely where to fit it. I had hopes that we might see something like that in Kids Zone, but I don't think that's going to happen now.
No, I mean, it's interesting. Like, let's talk about Minion Blast a little bit. We don't know an awful lot. We know what Alicia's put out there about it.
Yes.
I've been listening.
And full credit to Alicia Stella and Orlando Park Stop, because they do the best job of digging up all of the publicly available details and putting them together.
It's such a weird, like, Michelle, we've talked about it a lot recently, haven't we? It's like a moving walkway type attraction for family, like with kids.
It's
Right.
it's an Omnimover without the Omnimover.
It's weird though. I was listening to Coaster Radio today and they were talking about it, and it's like, how are you going to get like 9-10-year-old kids on a moving walkway with a blaster? Because they were like, is it going to be tethered to something, or is it going to be like a wireless blaster? It's like, how is that going to work? And then you're going to have a bunch of 9 or 10-year-old kids all farting around on a moving walkway like kids like to do.
Like, and not staying in their spot, like running up and down and going backwards trying to get the target. And
it will be interesting if there's some sort of dividers along the moving walkway to keep you within a certain segment. I'm sure there will be lots of intrusion alarms, but yeah, it calls to mind the fact that the moving walkways at the garages at Universal can never stay running more than an hour or so at a time before someone triggers them and they have to be reset. So, people get down on Universal with their rides for their zero containment policy, their method of making sure everyone is stapled into a ride, no matter how slow moving, so that they can't escape. There is a method to that madness. Every time we see someone picking a cucumber and living with the land, or playing with the Greek mathematicians in Spaceship Earth, it shows you what happens when you don't keep people fixed in one place on a ride. So this is why we can't have nice things. If these are wireless guns, we'll see how long they last before they get thrown at the walls and
dropped every 2 seconds,
chucked at the sets.
Well, it's like the 3D glasses in the rides. Like, how many of them went missing that they now, I'm assuming, they're RFID tagged?
Yeah.
Or are you not going to have a gun at all? Is it going to be like Spider-Man over at Avengers Campus, where your hands?
Everything I've read indicates that it will be a blaster.
Yeah, I think the email blast they sent out, I think did mention some sort of physical thing.
Interesting.
I mean, I think it will be fun. It will definitely interactive shooting gallery rides are always popular. Every time that they build Spider-Man after they build Toy Story, and they're like, oh, it's the same thing, but they're both popular. They both draw a crowd. So I think that this one will definitely be popular as well, and especially if it doesn't have a height requirement. I just hope that this moving walkway has a high hourly capacity, because it's going to need it located right at the front of the park.
I wonder if it's in the plans to get rid of Minion Mayhem and turn that into a different property that's Illuminations.
Again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And for me personally, I don't think Minion Mayhem has ever been the same since they got rid of the 3D.
No, it's not.
No.
But it's still consistently one of the most well-attended attractions in the park.
Yeah.
Until those wait times.
I would venture to say that's only because there's not a whole lot of things to do with little kids.
Possibly.
Absolutely. That is true. It's a definite weak spot, and when they built it in California, they made sure it had double the capacity, and as a result, it's often kind of almost a walk-on in California. But hey, I would love them to use that space for Secret Life of Pets. I think that would be a brilliant choice. But I think that Universal's got its hands full for at least the next few years with other projects.
Yeah, I don't think that building would be big enough to put anything in it because it's like a sit-down theatre. There's not a lot of room you couldn't put a ride in there.
No,
anyway.
it would have to be a tear down.
Yeah.
Or it would have to be a situation where you use the current building as queue and pop through to the old Blue Man Group building.
Or build up.
Yeah, or rebuild up.
Mm.
The Secret Life of Pets was designed to be built on a very narrow footprint. So if they really wanted to raise that whole area and build from scratch there, sure, it could be done.
Yeah,
but,
look at
I haven't seen any or heard any signs that that's something that's going to happen in the near future.
Well, you know what, Seth? When we talk, things happen. So
that's true. Absolutely. Well, put it out there. Let's put it out there. Take down Minion Mayhem and put on up Secret Life of Pets. I would. I vote for that. Absolutely.
You saw what they did with Transformers. From that Xena building getting dropped to rebuilding was a year.
When there is a financial incentive that they have to build something within 364 days, and they've already got the blueprints, things can happen. But I think right now that they've got their capital expenditures planned out, and they don't have to unexpectedly spend a whole bunch of money real quick.
Yeah. So that leads me into, I was having a conversation with a friend of the podcast, Lauren, a while back. And we were talking about what this, having another shooter attraction in the park, means for Men in Black. And I wouldn't normally comment on it as much, but we've noticed, especially more so in September than when we were over in December, of how much downtime Men in Black's had recently, and then the fact that the guns don't work properly, a lot of the animatronics don't work. It is not looking in the best shape. And I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you the last time it went down for a refurb. And it worries me that they might just, once this opens, just go, oh, well, we only need one shooter, let's get rid of Men in Black and put something else in there.
Yeah, Men in Black is a favorite of mine. I think it's a really underrated attraction.
I love it.
We love it. I think a lot of people, I don't think anyone plans their trips anymore, other than diehards like us around Men in Black. But it is one of the most repeatable attractions in all of Orlando. And it's one of Universal's few attractions that relies on big sets and lots of animatronics. And I think it would be a shame for it to go away. Having said that, it's one of the oldest attractions that's still operating, and you're right, it needs a lot of upkeep. And because it's such a workhorse, because it's such a people eater when it's running, everything else gets the attention, everything else gets the downtime. So I would love to see. It would have been a great opportunity when the new Men in Black movie came out a couple of years ago. If that had been a hit, it would have been a great opportunity to refresh it. Barring that, I haven't heard anyone tell me, ride it for the last time because it's going down soon. But if there's another phase to Universal Studios Florida redevelopment, which would probably be looking not this year or next year, but past Epic. You've got the West Arena. I'm dating myself by calling it the Wild West Arena.
Yes,
the Fear Factor Live Stadium. And if you take the Fear Factor Live Stadium, you take the Men in Black attraction, you have a huge portion of the park that is an opportunity for something major. And I can't give you any hints on what that's going to be. I wish I knew.
I will be devastated. It has sunk to my second favorite ride at Universal at this point. But it's still it's become from the Weekender. It's become such a part of any meetup we do in the parks now, and I'll be devastated if it goes away. I did see a little rumor, and it might have just been like a random tweet last year about a potential Ghostbusters retheme for it, which I wouldn't be against.
Well, you know how big a Ghostbusters fan I am.
Yes, I do.
there have been multiple Ghostbusters shooting attractions built around the world, and I haven't been on them, but I've watched the POVs, and they're all pretty terrible.
Okay.
So if someone had the money and the technology to do justice to Ghostbusters, that's about the only thing that I would be willing to give up Men in Black for.
Yeah, we'll get the Void in and do the VR thing that was in New York for Ghostbusters with the Void, because that looked amazing.
I got to do, there's a new Ghostbusters, I think it's Ghostbusters Academy VR, Hollowgate, I think is the company. I got to try it at IAPA.
Okay.
It wasn't quite as immersive in terms of storytelling as the one The Void did, but it was a lot of fun. It was like a multiplayer thing where you got to zap ghosts and go up against the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So if you have one of those VR arenas near your house, look for the Ghostbusters one. It was kind of fun.
I think the VR's just become, I think it was just a bit of a gimmick, wasn't it? Because like at Disney Springs, they had the Star Wars one for a while, didn't they? It didn't last long. It's such a shame.
Well, the Void had licensing issues. They lost their contract with Disney, and the COVID kind of did them in. It's a shame though, because they really did have, I think, the best product in the market. Still a lot of people doing VR, and I think there's still a lot of potential for VR in the future. Headsets need to get lighter with sharper lenses, these new generation of pancake lenses. I'm going to pick up a Quest 3. I got a Quest 1 and a Quest 2, and when the Quest 3 comes out, I'll get one of those too.
Michelle, you've got one, didn't you? Get Chris one for a birthday?
Oh, yeah, we have one, but I don't have two. Who's the 1%er now?
It was investment. I got it during COVID when I was writing about VR and theme parks.
I got it during COVID when the whole rest of the world was broke.
It was a business expense.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we have the Quest 2, and it's pretty cool. Which is why, since we have this at home, it's really why I wouldn't spend money to do VR elsewhere.
Yeah.
Although I hear it's a cooler experience, but still.
If you're a theme park fan and you own a Quest, go onto App Lab and search for Project Snowflake. It is a recreation of the Adventure in Inner Space ride, the old Monsanto ride from Disneyland in the 60s. And it's a VR recreation of it for free on App Lab.
Cool.
They've also got
too much Disney.
They've also got an App Lab thing called Into the Metaverse, which is like a recreation of Spaceship Earth. Yeah, there's some fun VR stuff for theme park fans out there. Moving right along, back to Universal.
So I wanted to briefly talk about Minions Cafe, because we talked about it 2 weeks ago, and we looked at Tracy and I were looking at the menu for the one in Hollywood, and we were very underwhelmed by it. Because I think what we expect from a themed restaurant is, obviously, we're talking to Chris from TDR Explorer about what Super Nintendo World out in Japan, and you look at Canopio's Cafe over there. That's what I expect from a themed cafe. So we looked at the menu of the one at Hollywood and went, yeah, I mean, it's basically, barbecue and mac and cheese with some banana flavored sauce. Yeah.
And I didn't have the greatest experience there. Yes, they could definitely go more elaborate with the plating and stuff. Having seen what's going on with Super Nintendo, I'm hoping that our Minion Cafe will maybe get an upgrade.
I hope so. Because the stuff in, I'm assuming Toadstool's Cafe in Hollywood will be the same. I mean, Michelle, have you seen the stuff from those two restaurants, the Super Nintendo World?
I haven't.
Oh, nope. It's like everything is it's like really good food, but themed to Nintendo well. It's awesome.
Everything is designed to be Instagram.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
I mean, it should be. If you're going to spend all the money to theme out a restaurant, you should theme out the food too.
I mean, we're coming out of an era where people are not really accepting anymore that you can just take ordinary food, maybe put some blue sprinkles on it and give it a fancy name, and that's enough.
Exactly.
Not at these prices.
Because you look at what they're doing with that, not only are they taking the entire of Monsters Cafe, but the frame, the steel work that's out the front, they're expanding that out as well. So it's going to be much bigger than it was. I really hope that it's more than just a few screens inside and a bit of theming, and that's it. I think people will expect a lot more. I'll expect a lot more, and that's enough.
What? I'm curious
considering they took down Monster Cafe, which we loved, it better be good.
I'm curious to see if the frozen drink stand returns in some form with maybe with banana smoothies.
They did have some before, didn't they? I think the one across the road from that had when we came over. I think it was Foreign Nights 25. I got the banana one. It was pretty good actually. I just want to see something on the level of Canopio's Cafe, because it's like, for me, that's the bar, and Universal Studios Florida being the signature park. That's where they should be looking to outdo everywhere else at this point, not just put something lightly themed in.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get something quite on that level, but I am hoping for at least a small upgrade, please, over the Minion Cafe that they've got out in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's funny because you talk about the food in the parks, and when Fast Food Boulevard opened, it kind of took everything to that next level where it was good food but well themed, and then it kind of stopped a little bit, and then you got Today Cafe, which I adore, they've
obviously, the Harry Potter food has always had a lot of thought put into it. And, I talk in my book, the new unofficial guide to Universal Orlando 2023, available in bookstores and at theunofficialguides.com. We do talk about how a big change in the last year or two is a lot more options for vegetarians and vegans. The plant-based stuff has been gradually, steadily improving and increasing around the parks. And I do think that is a big positive change that we've seen
truly
just in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I know you follow them a lot, but we've got, I've reached out to Shelby from Universal Orlando Vegans, and she's going to come on. In a
lot to talk about, especially
it's good.
With Mardi Gras going on. They've got some good vegan options this year for Mardi Gras. Though I do feel like they took a small step back. I think they pushed the vegan options a little harder last Mardi Gras, and it seems like it's a little maybe pulled a little bit back this year.
I know, like a lot of the allergy stuff at the parks, we covered it a lot last year. A friend and listener to the show, Kelly, she is like severely lactose intolerant. And
I feel you.
Yeah, she's like a hospitalization with like the slightest bit, and she said going to Universal is so easy for her now because like the chefs and stuff will come out and talk. There's so many options there for her just off the bat. I mean, she reached out to they have a specific email address off the top of my head. I can't remember what it is. Like, is it allergies@universalorlando.com, something like that? And the guy actually gave her his cell phone number. Like, if you have any issues, just ring me when you're there. And I was like, you can't ask for more than that.
Right. Yeah. No, they really do take it seriously. You have to speak up. You have to make your needs clear. But as long as you always, you talk, if you're at a restaurant, you can always ask to talk to the chef. And if you're at a quick service place, you can always ask to see the book of allergy information. And they're really eager to help you out with that, because they certainly don't want you going into anaphylactic shock on the floor of the restaurant. They want to avoid that.
Yeah. But yeah, like say, going back, I like the fact that that's getting a bit of an identity. I'd still love them to do something with the entrance plaza a little bit more. I still feel like you said we moved away from that studio feel now, because that's not what Universal Studios is anymore, and it does lack a little bit of identity when you first walk in. Like, especially if you've been into Islands and you walk into Port of Entry and see how elaborately themed that is, and then walk into Studios and kind of go
yeah. Oh, exactly. It is a very bland opening area, but Illumination Lane will certainly bring some color to it.
Yeah. So kind of move on. I know, Michelle, you haven't been yet, but the Tribute Store opened. Seth, have you had a chance to go through it yet?
I have not. I'm going in tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it, but I've got some friends who worked on it, so I've seen plenty of pictures on the inside.
It looks very similar to the one that was in New York, but it does look a lot smaller.
It is a smaller footprint. It definitely looks like the crowd flow is going to be a little more cramped. The one in New York, it had a bunch of wasted space.
Yeah,
you had that
corridor.
big long corridor.
Yeah. That's true.
But that also gave some room, some breathing space from,
yes.
When things did get back up, there was a place for people to go. I would definitely say to pack your patience, especially if you're going on a busy Mardi Gras night. That because there's a lot of beautiful detail. I think they did a nice job of storytelling with the progression of spaces. You kind of move from a hotel to a back alley speakeasy, and it's got a really great sort of creepy, but also sort of romantic New Orleans feel to it.
Yeah, when you go, Seth, you'll have to have a look at the Prohibition bottles. You might recognise somebody's face on there. Chris is in there.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know you and I sort of had a brief back of when I sort of said that I think that they were putting the tribute store into Hollywood because they were going to put the preview center for Epic Universe in the location that it would have been in New York, and you were like, I think Mummy Ops might have a bit of a...
Yeah, I mean, there might be a tug of war backstage. I think for at least right now, Mummy's got their dibs on that because Mummy is no longer in technical rehearsals. It's finally back to actually being officially opened. And I think they're looking at spring break season and expecting really big crowds and needing somewhere to put them.
Yeah. I mean, that preview center is coming somewhere. Apparently, I've been told by someone who knows where it's going. I cannot remember that conversation. So we were trying to think. Okay. I've been told it's going in City Walk. I know that much. But we were been trying to... Michelle, we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? Trying to figure out where the hell they would put it in City Walk. And the only place we can think of that is somewhere that they would potentially... Because there's nowhere empty as far as we know. So the only place that we could think of that they would potentially close to put a preview center in would be the Legacy store. But I don't know whether they would...
yes, the Legacy store would be the obvious place.
Which would be such a shame. I love the Legacy store.
I do too. But I got to be honest, I don't do a lot of actual shopping in there.
No, I'm sure.
I go in, I look at the models and stuff. I would go in if it was a preview center and look at the models, and I'm sure they'd have some Legacy stuff to buy along with new Epic Universe stuff. I'm sure if it did become a preview center, it would still be at least 50% store.
Yeah.
So. That to me, that would be the logical place for it to go.
And it makes more sense for it to be in City Walk than putting it in the parks anyway. Because obviously with the Islands of Adventure one, they didn't have City Walk to put it, so they had to put it in studios, whereas now they've got that space to play about with. I was actually talking to, I'll give him a plug, Brian from the Universal Family Podcast, and he was saying, do you think they would put it in the Blue Man Group theatre? I'm like, no one's ever mentioned that, but...
It's too far out of the way. Nobody's going to venture over there.
Yeah, I really think that the Legacy store would be the obvious spot for that to go. If Cursed Coconut Club wasn't, or the Red Coconut Club wasn't back in operation pretty regularly now, I'd say that would be another good option.
Because that seems to be doing absolute gangbusters. It's like, I know when Chris went, when it first opened to the Dead Coconut Club, he was talking to the manager, and the manager told him, something along the lines of they were given a certain amount of money that they had to make through the entire run of Horror Nights, and apparently they made that in the first week.
I don't doubt it because it's got great buzz. They did a great job of creating an atmosphere and doing the decorations, and it was great getting to see during Halloween the classic monster characters there. I've got a Creature of the Black Lagoon plastic wax mold on my shelf.
Yeah.
We've got them.
No, they did great job of like kind of cure. The only problem is they create all this buzz and excitement about it, and then half the time you go and try to get in and it's closed off for a private event.
Well, to be fair, when we were over in September, it was the only night we were going to go. It was closed.
Yeah,
we were going. There was me, Tracy, the kids, Chris, Alexa, and we were with Andrew Stonecipher, and it was closed.
Yeah, I said in my wrap up column for the end of the year for Orlando Weekly that my favorite new thing in Universal this past year was resurrecting the Coconut Club. But the only problem is that you can't get in. You're just like a roll of the dice whether you're going to be able to get in on any given night.
I don't understand why it wasn't open every night.
You're from your mouth to God's ear. I don't know.
And also with it having 2 stories, why couldn't they just offer the upstairs for private parties?
See, this is smart thinking.
Yeah.
Right?
This is why you're not an executive at Universal.
We went into it when we were over for the weekender with our friends Andy and Catherine. We were in there wandering around, and then this guy comes and was like, "Friends, we're not actually open." Like, but the door was open, so we just walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got kicked out.
Which we know from trying to do the private event at Vivo, that in order to have people not be able to just wander in, you have to pay for security.
Yes. Yeah.
But
they usually charge for that.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of annoys a little bit the way Universal do with private events. I know, again, Brian from the Universal family, they went 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they'd had a reservation for Cowfish, and literally like 2 days before, they got an email saying, "Oh, it'd been cancelled because they'd booked the whole place out for a private party."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I get the lure. I used to be, when I worked at Universal, I used to be involved in those private events, and I get it. There's big money involved, and it's attractive, but you also gotta weigh that against the bad feelings that you generate among just regular guests, because each of those regular guests goes home and tells someone else about it.
Or someone like Brian, who goes on his podcasts and tell all his listeners about it.
Exactly. Well, there's nothing regular about Brian.
No. Michelle, I know the answer to this question. I know you're going to say no. Did you listen to last week's show at all? No.
Yes.
No,
I
didn't. No, I didn't think you did. Michelle has...
Are you just trying to put her on the spot? You know the answer to the question.
No, I knew the answer to the question.
Just trying to embarrass her?
No, I'm not.
That's all he does. Evidently, you don't listen to the show either, because that's all he does.
There is a reason for it.
I can't stand to listen to my own voice, so I don't listen to anything that I participate in.
So our episode last week was Chris, Alexa, Maddie, Kenneth, and Gillian doing the review of the Jurassic World escape room. Michelle has seen a few reviews, and she's like, I'm not overly interested in doing it. Have you done either of them yet, Seth?
Oh, I have done the Jurassic World escape room, and I gave it what I would charitably called a mixed review.
Charitably called.
It seems
that's nice.
Like I've spoken to a few people that have done it, and obviously I've talked to Chris and I've listened to their spoiler-free review from last week, and it's one of those things where I feel like they use the term escape room because that's the only way they could describe it. The problem is that's not what it is.
No, if you are a escape room veteran and you like escape rooms for certain things like exploration and puzzle solving and a sense of accomplishment, you will hate this one. If you've never done an escape room, but you've heard about them and think they're cool and you really like Jurassic World, this is perfect, because this is like baby's first escape room.
Right.
That just, whether you do well or you do badly, you get handheld through the experience at the exact same pace, and everyone gets a trophy at the end.
I know, like we sent Gillian as part of our team because she's done like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And so she was like...
She was probably so off.
Yeah, I think for the most of them, they'd done maybe 1 or 2. I think Maddie might have been her first one. So obviously we had like a wide range of people who've done tons of them and people who haven't done them before. And I think it's difficult though, isn't it, from a theme park point of view, to put something in there that, let's be honest, most people, it's going to be a spur of the moment thing where they go to the resort, they don't know it's there, and think, oh, that's something cool to while away an hour or so on a night, and not really go for that specifically.
But you can't call it escape room.
But what else would you?
There is such a huge crowd of people that love escape rooms, like Seth said. And that's what you expect.
But then,
you're raising expectations by using that name.
Yes.
I wish that I understand for marketing purposes why you want to use that term, but I wish they had done something, because it's an interactive experience.
The Stranger Things thing is called the Stranger Things experience. I did not go into that expecting to have to solve puzzles and figure out a way out.
Right.
Therefore, I was not disappointed.
So Seth,
and I don't think, let me say this. Okay. I don't think it's a lost cause. I think the sets, the technology of it is all really good. I think that someone could come in and reprogram and redesign a lot of those puzzles and improve it. The basic problem I have was a lack of feedback. A lot of the puzzles were frustrating because you never got a clear sense of what you were doing and if you were doing it right. Because if you solved a puzzle, it would just give you another puzzle.
Right.
And if you didn't solve the puzzle, you would just move ahead anyway. So you didn't really know if you were progressing or doing it right or just be running around in circles. Those things could be fixed by reprogramming the puzzles. It's never going to change the nature of the fact that they're moving you from room to room at a certain pace, but at least there could be some follow-up where if you didn't do well in a previous room, it had some impact on the following room.
Yeah, that's
so there was some sense of accomplishment or consequence to your actions.
So that's what I was going to ask then. As far as you going through it, do your actions have any impact on it at all?
Not that I can tell. As far as I can tell, every room is on a timer, and it's given you a puzzle. And if you finish the puzzle sooner than you're supposed to, you just get another similar puzzle with a slight variation on it. And they keep doing that to keep you in place until you're ready they're ready for you to move to the next room. So yeah, it was funny because I think they're supposed to tell you at the end what your score was. When we got out at the end, there was like no one waiting to greet us or anything. We just walked out and I had to go down to the front desk and be like, can you figure out what our score was? We ended up with like, I don't know, 11 out of 20, some terrible score, like 50%. Yeah. But I have no idea which ones we got right or wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know along the way, because there was never any feedback. And feedback is really important for good puzzle design.
I think our team got like 12, so you were in good company with our lot.
Yeah. I do want to go back and do the Back to the Future one just because I'm a big Back to the Future fan. I know it's got references to the ride. I want to see the scenic work because the scenic work, the sound effects, all that was great. It's just those puzzles.
It just seems to be, like I said, that they've used the word escape room, which gives people a certain idea of what it's going to be, but that's not what it is. But then if you called it the Universal Great Movie Experience, people would be like, well, what's that?
What is it?
Yeah,
exactly.
It is difficult. And also, like, from the point of view of having puzzles, because like when they first announced it, we were trying to rack our brains of like, if it is a typical escape room, and you're reliant on solving the puzzles to move on, then how do you get a guest flow through that? Because inherently in theme parks, you need flow. Otherwise, no one's going to get in it. You're not going to make money off it because it's going to be booked solid. I mean, it's not cheap. We booked a private group for the 5 of them, and it was like 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and it was something like $415.
Yep, that sounds about right. Yeah. I think if you a private tour on a like midday on a weekday, you can do for $300 something bucks. There is an annual pass discount.
Not on the private ones. There is
pass discount on the
on
the private room.
No,
only for individual.
Yes,
I did it as an individual, and I got the discount. I went during the day, so after tax, it was $40 and change.
Still expensive,
which was not. It was expensive. You can do a lot of escape rooms in town for $35 or $40.
Hey everyone, since recording this episode with Seth, Universal have changed the price of the 2 escape rooms at Universal's Great Movie Escape. They have reduced the price from the initial from $49.99 plus tax down to from $39.99 plus tax. So yeah, it obviously is struggling for attendance as we've discussed. So back over to us with Seth.
I mean, for the production values, we got to say it's got great sets. It's got great production values, and you don't have that kind of IP and stuff. The only thing you can compare it to is there's a Star Trek escape room at Escapology that is pretty terrible.
Right.
It is cheap. It has some of the worst puzzles that I've ever done. It's a complete waste of the Star Trek license. This was way better than that. I will give them that. And I admire that they looked at it as like, how do we have to build 8 complete escape rooms, in order to be able to cycle enough people through here, or they've got to create a way. They basically created the escape room equivalent of the Halloween Horror Nights conga line, where you just keep people shuffling through. You know, I don't know how else. I think that it would be a great concept. I would love to see this, you know, a theme park walkthrough attraction in this style, that was interactive, but that didn't rely on such terrible puzzles.
Like take the puzzles out of it.
I mean, the concept of moving through different rooms and different environments and having things to interact with was great. But remove the expectation of it being an escape room and make the puzzles a lot simpler, or make the puzzles better and give them some actual consequence and make it more of an escape room. But it's this weird middle ground right now that isn't satisfying.
It could be just like, it doesn't even need to be puzzles, just tasks within the room rather than puzzles. Like, oh, we need, you know, the key for this, go and find that, or whatever. We used to have a TV show over in the UK called Nightmare, and it was this weird sort of CG thing where there was a kid in a maze, but he didn't see anything with his helmet on, and he had like his friends in the studio directing him, and like that type of thing would work. And like you say, it's such a weird. It's a difficult concept for them to be able to do right as an escape room. Like I don't envy them trying to come up with how to make an escape work room in that environment.
Well, I think that the people who made it probably did their best working under the constraints of, one, minimal labor, that they didn't want to have an employee reset the room after every group. So there are no props that have to be returned or relocked or anything like that. And that's a problem, because so much of what's fun about an escape room is opening drawers and searching for keys. And if nothing can be, you know, if everything has to be automatically resetting itself, then there's no sense of exploration. And the other thing is that they want it to all be kind of automated with pre-recorded audio. So there's no human being interacting with you at any time once you're in it. So if you need a hint and you're stuck and you're kind of shouting out to the heavens, like, what is going on here? There's no opportunity for someone to come on and be like, hey, look in that corner, you missed that thing. If they just have these pre-recorded hints that don't actually help at all, that they're just basically repeating the instructions over and over again.
I'd love to see it like basically an interactive Halloween Horror Nights where you get to play out a story with the scare actor. Something like that would be awesome.
Well, you know, way back when they did the repository, which kind of combined an escape room and a VR and an interactive theater thing, and it was a little half-baked. It was definitely a prototype. But I think they kind of got scared off by the amount of labor it took and how, you know, some people loved it and some people hated it, and got, you know, kind of frightened about devoting more resources to that. You know, something along the lines of this format, but for Halloween. I mean, they have out in Vegas, they have the Saw escape room and the Blair Witch escape room that I've done, and I think they just opened the It escape rooms, and they managed to have actual storytelling with live actors and moving you through different environments, but the puzzles actually make sense and let you feel like you're accomplishing something. So I wish the Universal folks would, you know, they're building that place out in Vegas. They should take a visit over to the Saw and Blair Witch and take some notes.
I mean,
I have another reason to go to Vegas now.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel this is something that could evolve though, Seth, or is it set as it is?
I think it can be improved. I spent some time talking to the people who work there. They are completely aware of the feedback. They know the buzz is that, you know, it looks beautiful, but the puzzles are really not fun. They've heard it. And even the last time I was in there was a group of executives who were doing a walkthrough of it again. And this is after it had been open for weeks. So I think they're aware, and just the fact that it is not booked solid, they need to do something to turn it around. So I hope that they invest in improving it and making it what it could be, and don't just pull the plug.
If they had made it a true escape room, it would be booked solid.
It would be just because you couldn't get that throughput though. That was the conversations that
but
we had.
But you really can. It's the same as every other escape room. They have the same hurdle to overcome,
not
right?
Like
they
not
don't
like
have
Universal.
The volume.
No,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Neither does Universal at this point.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. You book it for a block of time, just like an escape room does. Like any other escape room, it's a block of time. So is it better for them to try to push people through in a conga line and not have it fully booked? Or is it better to do blocks of time?
Look, it's
like a standard escape room.
It's like when you build Fast and Furious and you put a massive queue in it because you expect it to be massively busy. They've done the same thing. You build the capacity in, hoping that it is going to do that capacity. And if it doesn't, then that's when you try and figure it out. Whereas, do you want to build it without the capacity and then suddenly you have to work out how you're getting that capacity when it's not there when you need it? It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's not easy.
It's not going to have the capacity of like the standard attractions inside the park. So if that's what they were going at, that's silly. We're looking at city walk entertainment. It's not the same capacity restraints. They shouldn't have gone that route, in my opinion. If it had been in a true escape room, I guarantee you it would be booked up.
But then how many people aren't going because they've read reviews, or like, why isn't it booked solid then? Because if
probably
people don't
because they've read the reviews.
Well, I think the one thing we can all agree on is that the bar has some excellent.
Yes, apparently the bar is. Chris was very
really good
complimentary.
Awesome.
Not like they couldn't use
bummed.
any more bars.
I'm bummed because I thought it would be really cool to actually try to like escape from dinosaurs.
Yeah, I still want to do it.
Who doesn't want to escape and be in fearful of their life because a dinosaur is going to get them?
Go in knowing what it is. Go in with low expectations. Enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry I did it. I'm not going to be redoing it, the Jurassic World again, until they massively change the puzzles. But I'm going to go back and do the Back to the Future thing.
Yeah.
Because, if you really love these movies, you know that there's no reward for really doing the puzzles. So just hang out in the environment, put your hands in your pockets and ignore the puzzles and just walk through the storyline. Yeah. Take it as like a walkthrough experience.
We all spend our money going to Halloween Horror Nights every year, and it's basically the same thing. And you get pushed through even quicker.
Pretty much.
Hey, there's a good point. I can buy an HHN ticket for $70 and it gets me how many hours of entertainment?
Like 8.
Versus 1 hour of entertainment for 40.
All right, fair enough. We get it, Michelle. You don't like it.
In fairness, it gets you 1 hour of entertainment and 7 hours of standing in line.
I mean, that is very true.
Hey, Seth, we're 1%ers. We have express passes.
I'm
Speak for yourself.
I'm not in that category. You're not getting an express pass for $70.
No, I was there with Seth last year with his one night at Halloween Horror Nights.
I used to get my one free ticket with my premiere pass. That's all I'm giving.
That was funny.
I'm sorry, but there's just too much other great Halloween entertainment going on around Orlando. Back in the day when Halloween Horror Nights was the only thing, then yes, I was the diehard there with my frequent fear every single night. But there's so much other great stuff. You got to branch out at Halloween time.
Yeah, for definite. I wasn't expecting to talk about the escape room that long, but it's very divisive. I'm interested to get some reviews back off our listeners to see what they think of it. I've had a couple so far, but nothing like, oh yeah, it was amazing. I'm so glad we did it.
Yeah.
Man, we need a vacation.
Oh, I got this.
Whoa, that's awesome. But I was thinking something a little more adventurous.
Okay, how about this?
Yes!
And how about some relaxation from Mama?
Oh, perfect. How did you do that?
Easy. PortKey Vacations.
For your next vacation, let PortKey Vacations take away all the guesswork and stress of planning. From air and hotel to theme park tickets and everything else in between, they've got you covered. Just visit PortKeyVacations.com and touch the PortKey to get started with your free, no-obligation quote request. With just one touch, and PortKey Vacations will magically take you wherever you want to go.
I suppose moving on, Kid Zone. Obviously, that's been the big thing, and
pour one out for Woody Woodpecker. I do not think that we are going to see Woody, the original mascot of Universal, around anymore. I think his day is done.
What
do kids even know who Woody Woodpecker was?
What are we expecting from Kid Zone then, Seth?
Shame.
Are we expecting a light theme?
We're expecting meet and greets.
Yes, that ping one sounds. I think I've seen. Don't they have that over in Beijing?
I'm not sure about Beijing. I know at Universal Hollywood, they had for Chinese New Year one year a noodle bar, and I think it had a puppet. I think it was kind of similar to like the donkey meet and greet.
Yeah, I thought they had one in Beijing.
This seems like it's taking it to the next level. I'm not even sure if what's represented in this patent is a puppet or an animatronic or a hologram, but it seems like it's got all sorts of interactive things where it can actually sell you different items and like have different things interact with the guest other than just talking to you. So next level meet and greets for sure. I think that the Woody Woodpecker roller coaster is probably going to stick around with a new name.
I've heard the new name. Oh, it's terrible. I hated Velocicoaster when they first announced that.
But you got used to it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see plenty of trolls. If you like the farting Guy Diamond, you're going to love this place. Fievel's already mostly gone.
Yeah, I've seen.
I was hoping that they might save some portion of Fievel or reuse, but yeah, he's been torn to bits. And I'm keeping an eye on Curious George. That's what I really want to know. I think the odds are that the footprint of the DreamWorks theater, the old Barney Theater, that's perfectly good and can easily be recycled into some other either meet and greet or stage show. But I'm looking at Curious George, and that's where I was really hoping that we would see a dark ride going. But I think the odds of that are not happening. When they announced that Universal Park in Texas,
yes,
and the map clearly shows a lot of Trolls stuff, and I'm thinking, oh well, they could do a Trolls ride and just clone one here and one there. But they've said that park in Texas is not going to have any dark rides at all. So no hopes of splitting the costs of that development. So yeah, I'm thinking meet and greets and playgrounds, but not the slow moving dark ride that the park really needs that I was hoping for.
That would be such a shame, though.
I wish. I hope I'm wrong about this one. I really hope I'm wrong about this one.
Put Secret Life of Pets in there.
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, I think that this is going to be focused on DreamWorks. And Secret Life of Pets, if that was going to go anywhere, I think your idea of over in where Despicable Me is the best idea.
Yeah, it's just
How to Train Your Dragon stuff. No,
because that's going to go in.
Well,
Epic,
that's all
isn't
being
it?
saved for Epic.
Yeah.
That's
not even a little bit over here.
No, I wouldn't have thought, because I think everyone, when Kid Zone got announced, everyone was like, "Oh, we're finally getting Pokemon or something like that." And I know it's only going to be like a light re-theme. It's just, I wish they'd spend a bit of money just to bring that area up to the level of the rest of the park, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
for sure.
It seems a shame. It seems weird that they're going to demolish most of it and do a light re-theme on it.
It seems
what?
silly.
Yeah. For how
long?
Long?
Because if all they're doing is climbing structures, well, then why spend the money on demolishing Fievel and instead just throw a new character up there?
Yeah.
I do know that a lot of Fievel structures have been closed, even since everything else reopened after COVID. A lot of that stuff was built in an earlier era and had a lot of trouble with maintenance and sanitation and stuff. So it's probably a good excuse as any to take some of that Fievel stuff down. Could that whole area someday become something way bigger? Maybe. But honestly, what the park needs is just stuff for little kids to do.
Yeah.
IOA has lots of great playgrounds for kids that are highly detailed. But to be honest, like for kids who are under 5, you don't necessarily need highly detailed playgrounds. You just need space for them to blow off steam. And in order for this to be done in a year, it can't be a huge, elaborate build. They can't do a Wizarding World of Harry Potter style kid zone. Not in the budget and the time frame that they're looking at.
I mean, a big group of us rode the Woody Woodpecker coaster at the weekend. It's the shortest roller coaster in the history of roller coasters.
The only coaster I know that's shorter is the Gadget coaster out at Toontown at Disneyland.
I do wonder how it's going to affect Horror Nights this year, because
crowd flow is going to be a nightmare. I mean, we did have one Halloween Horror Nights when they thought that whole section was going to become Super Nintendo World before Epic was announced, where they actually put up construction walls around Kid Zone. As long as you can access behind ET, they could route people around, but it's going to be
a nightmare,
a huge bottleneck. To access those sprung tents, and they have already filed the permits for the sprung tents. Right. They're using them. That's all the access to those is going to have to be through the Men in Black side, because you can't take people through the Barney Theater like they have been.
Will that make the walk shorter or longer?
More people.
It's a question of where they route the queue. I have a feeling that they will make you walk the long way around so that they can then bring the queue back in around without interfering with the service roads. I honestly, I would hate to be the people planning out the queue lines and figure. It's going to be interesting.
Well, you look at last year it was the weekend and Legends Collide lines there. Kid Zone is always one of the busier areas in the park during Horror Nights, and then you take that out completely. Yeah, no thanks.
Yep, it's going to be a cluster, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's so strange why they didn't. I don't know what else they would do. Very, very odd. We're getting on one last thing that you mentioned on Little Things last week, Seth. This drone show. We've seen pictures of it.
The drone show, and the mysterious drone show. I don't think it's been sighted again. We had one night of testing, and there was some film that went around on social media of some drones flying over Universal Studios Florida.
See, I heard it was over islands. Did you see the picture? Have you seen the pictures, Michelle?
I thought it was over the studios.
Yeah, someone.
I have to look that up again.
In one of our group chats.
Well, over one of the parks. Let's say it was over one of the parks.
I would rather see it over islands. If they were going to do like a nighttime show with them, I'd like to see something in islands.
That would be very interesting. Islands, there was a very brief time early in Island's life where there was a fireworks show at night. Did not last long. They've tried things during the day with stunt shows with jet skis for a season or two here and there. But other than the nighttime lights at Hogwarts, they haven't had any kind of nighttime spectacular.
No. Why do you think that is?
People there till closing. I'm not.
Is it viewing?
I'm not really sure.
Is it just because it's not set up like Universal is, where we've talked about it before? And
I mean, the park really was designed. There are those quiet areas that used to be smoking areas, but they don't have smoking anymore. But in each land, you've got an area, whether it's in Port of Entry or behind Captain America Diner or behind Mythos, that is perfect for viewing of a nighttime show. So I don't know if there's a technical reason or if it's just a budgetary reason why they don't do that. But if they were going to bring a nighttime show to IOA, I think that would be great. The other thing when we talk about drones, if it is IOA, they've done the Dark Arts show in Hollywood using drones. But I've not heard anything to make me think that they're going to bring that over here. That would be a Halloween thing, and so it would be really weird for that just to be randomly testing now.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't see any patterns or shapes in those video clips that looked anything Harry Potter-ish.
No.
They almost look like test patterns. Like these are just different geometric shapes that we can do.
Yeah, I think one was like a diamond, wasn't it? Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. I honestly, my gut says that this was for some sort of corporate event. That this might be some sort of private event that some company wants their logo, for some custom light show with drones. That's what my gut says. But
maybe it was some company coming in trying to sell Universal on the idea of doing it.
Ooh.
That is very possible too. That it was some sort of demo. But I don't expect to see a drone show pop up next week at Universal. Yeah, it's interesting because IOA would be a perfect place to do it because generally you don't want drones flying over guests' heads. Though I was on a cruise ship not long ago. I was on the world's biggest cruise ship, the Wonder of the Seas for Royal Caribbean, and they have an indoor drone show with the drones flying over the audience's head.
Wow.
That was pretty wild.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
They said the drones all weigh less than 2 ounces, and if they fell on you, you wouldn't feel it. So.
Okay,
I didn't want to test that.
No. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything else sort of major happening, is there? I think really you're looking.
No, I hear there's might be something that they're building out by the convention center.
Yes, I mean that's the next thing. Tracy and I, Tracy's like, we need to be out there when it opens. And I'm like, all right, get a job and we'll get there.
Well, they are going to need to hire people. That is the story of Epic Universe.
Okay.
Yes, it's great that it's being built, but who is going to staff this thing? There's going to be some very tight competition in the labor market in this town because there are there are not that many people who can afford to live here and are willing to work frontline theme park jobs anymore. Because there aren't places for people working those jobs to live. You can't pay the rent.
Yeah.
So and that gap only seems to be getting bigger every day. Mm-hmm. So by the time they open Epic and they need thousands and thousands of new employees, I'm really curious to see where those people are going to come from, and they can't all live in this affordable housing that Universal is talking about building.
Okay. Because I know from having conversations with Maddie Michelle about her rent going up and struggling to be able to afford to live in Orlando, and that's why she went full-time at Disney, just for that security of having that full-time job.
Well, and even then, everybody we know has to have a roommate.
Yeah.
In order to afford the rent. Nobody can afford to live on their own, even in a studio apartment.
Yeah. No, I mean, I look at, when I moved to town, I kind of moved here with everything I owned in a U-Haul and just found a cheap apartment in Kissimmee, and those don't even exist anymore. Like anything that is livable, that is not scary, you're paying well over $1,000 for a 1-bedroom. The days of being able to make ends meet on a frontline, entry level theme park job salary. You got at least one roommate, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, let's ignore that and let's just look at
we'll
what this
put that
theme
aside, though.
This theme park looks like it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I'm hoping people don't have their expectations set too high. It's going to be a really well-balanced park, but it's not going to be like the most thrilling park, the most, not the most groundbreaking, epic roller coasters. There's going to be some great rides. There's going to be some great theming. And I think there's a lot of potential for growth in the future. I just hope people aren't getting themselves too hyped up about what it's going to be.
Well, this is getting a dueling coaster again, so all the Dueling Dragons fans will be happy.
Yes, we're finally getting a dueling coaster again. I don't, it does look like it's going to be a long, fast coaster. I don't think it'll have the intensity of a Dueling Dragons. Nothing's gonna match that intensity. But it definitely looks like it's going to be a nice, long, smooth, fun, repeatable ride.
I think Epic, like the buzzword for Epic is going to be it's immersive, isn't it? It's like they're going to take everything that they've learned on Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley and then Super Nintendo World, and then look at what Disney have done with Galaxy's Edge and build an entire theme park to that level.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
it really is. It's interesting because if you look at a Magic Kingdom or Universal Studios Florida, the edges of where one land stops, another, and because there's kind of a transition, there's sort of a blur, and you kind of move out of one space. This is going to be a kind of theme park where each land is its own little mini theme park, and you're literally walking through a tunnel out of the hub. And there's no direct connection of any one land. It's not like you can go from Adventureland to Frontierland. No, you've got to go back to the hub and sort of reset your journey before you go into these new lands. I think that from a crowd flow point of view, that's very interesting because, when you're in one place and you want to get to another and you've got to pack track all the way to the middle of the park before you can branch out again, rather than being able to, transit around, that's going to be interesting when the park gets busy.
Yeah.
But in terms of immersiveness, absolutely, it's going to totally, put you in that bubble. And it's also going to allow them operationally, if they wanted to close off one land, sell one land as a private event, control admission, say one land is at capacity, another land isn't, or you have to schedule when you're eligible to enter any given land on a busy day.
Oh God, please don't say that.
It's all possible. It's
I'm
all
so
it all
tired of
gives
park
them
reservations.
Yeah.
this system of kind of gatekeeping each land and separating it from everything else gives them that potential to treat the park like 4 different little parks.
Yeah. It's effectively 4 Diagon Alleys around a hub.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what they've looked at Diagon Alley and how well they believe that works, which it kind of does. Getting in and out of it's not that much of a pain.
Well,
Not really.
It's
That's got 2 exits though, hasn't it? As well,
in the early days, it was bad. These days, it's not so bad anymore.
Yeah,
but
well, that's the same as anywhere when it opens.
Look at pictures coming out of annual pass holder previews at Universal Studios Hollywood of Super Nintendo right now. I think today they had a fire alarm, and I saw pictures of people trying to get out, and basically the entire population of Super Nintendo World all trying to squeeze through one exit tunnel.
Oh no,
not a pleasant situation.
No, I'm sure. But that's an anomaly. You don't expect the entire land to be evacuating all at the same time.
No. But that whole system of one entrance and one exit that has some consequences.
Yeah, I'm thinking Diagon Alley isn't like that, is it? Because it actually has 2 exits.
Yeah. Well, in case, yes, Diagon Alley actually has more exits than a lot of people notice. And in case of emergency, there is ways to open those big barn doors and let people out backstage. I'm not sure if that's not possible in Hollywood or if they just didn't do it for some reason. Maybe they were doing a test to see, hey, we've got all these guinea pigs, they're annual pass holders. What are they going to do? Complain? Let's use them as test subjects for a worst case scenario drill.
Let's scare the crap out of them.
Yeah,
yeah, because they'll still come back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're pass holders.
They can trample each other, and easily we can replace them.
Exactly.
Well, Seth, it's been a blast as always. We had a bit more breathing space without Tracy and Chris here.
It is always fun talking to you. And now I've got to go and find some more little things to talk about.
Oh, there's always, every week.
You never have trouble finding little things.
Look, Seth, I know you don't listen. I'm not shaming you, by the way. I'm just saying, but like Chris has dubbed it Lottle things because it's not little, it's lot of little things. So he's dubbed it Lottle things.
Some weeks I get done and I look at the timestamp. I'm like, did I really talk for that long? Is that possible?
Well, of course, Seth, it wouldn't be, we'd be remiss if we didn't let you, I know you've already got a shameless plug in there early on, but we'll give you an official spot to plug.
Please, thank you so much. Yes, you can find copies of the Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando, as well as the Unofficial Guides to Disneyland, Las Vegas, Walt Disney World, all available in new 2023 editions at theunofficialguides.com. And you can find me at the UG Series on Twitter and at the Unofficial Guides on Instagram.
Awesome. Cool. Did you notice, Michelle, at the weekend that everyone else got a copy of the book, but we didn't?
I know.
You didn't get a copy?
No.
I have you on the list of maybe because you're overseas, it's taken.
Yeah.
You should have gotten.
Oh. No, we haven't. No worries. I wasn't actually pushing for a copy. I was only pulling your leg. Anyway.
You deserve a copy.
Oh, well, thank you. It is, let's be honest, it is the most exhaustive book on Universal Orlando. If there's nothing in, if it's not in there, it's not worth knowing.
Exhaustive and exhausting.
Hey, but
I'm
I will tell you,
just thinking about it.
Yeah, I didn't
the
say
first
that.
time I went to Disney World as an adult with my family, I read that book page from the front to back, every word.
God bless you. Thoughts and prayers.
I still have it somewhere with lots of dog ears in it.
Well, I hope it was helpful.
It was crazy helpful.
Yes.
It started my renewed passion.
For what?
For Florida theme parks.
Did you just say you used it to go to Disneyland?
Disney World.
All right, I thought you said Disneyland. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the show. Of course, we're going to do it as we do every week with a Universal Is, and this one comes from Jeremy Smith. But if you want to get involved, all you've got to do is let us know what you think Universal is in 3 words or less and send them to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. But for Michelle and Seth and myself, this week, Jeremy says Universal is my bedtime dreams. See you next week, everyone.
That was another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast, the best and only podcast about Universal Orlando on the island. Check us out on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcasts, news, and articles, check out our blog at uuopodcast.com. Contact us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. Join the Producers Club by emailing us at uuopproducers@gmail.com. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, for all your other theme park news, and email Michelle at portkeyvacations.net to book your next trip. So until next time, this is Amity 6, call off the Marines, we're coming home.